look out the window to see it, but the rest of us can. That. Okay. If you're all set, Alicia, looks like you're recording and streaming, right?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. This is the February 9th, 2023 Hideout Town Council regular meeting. This meeting is electronic meeting without an anchor site. I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'll be taking roll. So, Bob Nadelberg.
Here.
Are you present? Thank you. Chris Byer.
I'm here.
Thank you. Carol Hazelton.
I'm here.
Sherry Jacobs.
Here.
Thank you. And Ralph Severini.
Here, Phil.
Thank you. So full council is present. We have a quorum. Holly's here. Jan's here. Tim's here. Thomas is here. Okay, so we have all the supporting cast as well. Next item up is the approval of the council minutes of November 10th. So, council, any comments for the minutes from November 10th?
Yes, I have a comment. This is Carol, and I want to say that I didn't find one single mistake in the minutes. Great job, Alicia.
Thank you very much.
Done.
Thank you, Carol. Alicia doesn't make mistakes.
Nope.
Oh, that's
Occasionally, the computer doesn't type what she intended, but she doesn't.
keyboard glitches. Thank you, Carol.
You are welcome.
The minutes look good to me as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Ralph, Bob, any comments on the minutes? You okay?
No comment.
Terrific as usual. Thanks, Alicia. Very good.
Then I would appreciate it if someone would make a motion to approve the minutes of November 10th, 2022.
So moved.
I will second.
Okay. Bob,
Aye.
okay with the minutes?
Yep.
All right, okay. Okay, Ralph,
Yes.
thank you. Sherry,
Yes, fine.
Carol,
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is update on the Golden Eagle subdivision. I'll kick it off and then Polly and Tim can jump in, but the town issued a letter to the landowners up in Golden Eagle about a week or so ago. Hopefully everyone had a chance to see that. It's also on the website as well as the app, describing the requirements for us to move ahead per the court, which ruled on January 13th, maybe, I think.
Friday
Um,
the-
Go ahead, Polly.
I was just acknowledging it was Friday the 13th.
It was turned out to be a typical Friday the 13th. Anyway, so there's work that's gone on since that ruling. Maybe Tim, you can, or Paula, you can update. I don't know which one of you is the most recent on that, but for the community, I know the water system is getting close, still not completely tested, but there are also other things outstanding.
Yeah, Mayor, you're correct. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. The water system is very close. There's some things that we're still waiting for, and hopefully we can get some confirmation on that within the upcoming weeks. The sewer is kind of in the same scenario. We're still waiting for certain items for that to be completed. As you know, the roadways still need to be paved. The main entryway, that's an ongoing thing. And same with shoulders. I mean, went up there, not last Friday, but actually last Friday, went up there on Friday and took pictures. That was attached to the letter, and certain areas have some shoulders installed, but a lot of the areas do not. And so they'll still have to go through and get shoulders and turnarounds in. There's one turnaround that still remains. And then finally, the storm drain plan was submitted, and we're reviewing it as we speak. And we should hope back some more comments to the submitting engineer that we've already sent out. We've sent out some preliminary ones. Actually, we did it in 3 days. We sent it out to them. And so we're waiting to hear back from them, kind of any comments that they have in regards to the changes that we require to them for the storm drain plan. So that's kind of it from the engineering standpoint. I know Polly probably has some other things that she might want to add in, but hopefully that answers any questions that council members have.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tim.
the letter kind of summarizes everything. We did have a question from a citizen that because sewer wasn't mentioned, that mean that the sewer is accepted, and the answer is no. Sewer isn't required for a building permit, so it wasn't included in the update. But sewer has not been accepted for, since the letter has gone out, right, we gave back our comments on Monday on the storm drain, and I been anything else since then.
Okay, so the development team up there continues to work on addressing the issues, but there's still some gaps.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to, as soon as those conditions are met, we're looking forward to issuing permits.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's the Golden Eagle update. Unless there's council questions.
Yeah, I have a quick question. This is for Polly. So on the 13th, Friday the 13th, we heard the oral ruling from the 4th District Court. Do you have any sense on when the written ruling will be available?
I think it'll be soon. We submitted the draft, the proposed order, and I think it was signed off by opposing counsel, and that was done earlier this week. And as soon as it is issued, I will share it with Alicia to put up on our website, as I mentioned in the letter.
Great, thank you.
Good question, Chris. Thanks. Anything else from the council on Golden Eagle? Okay. The next item is public input. This is where we open the floor for any attendee to speak on items not listed on the agenda. The way you do that is you use the raise your hand functionality on the Zoom meeting. I don't see anyone who's exclusively on the phone tonight, so I don't think there's any. Yeah, so it's just the Zoom. And I don't see any hands coming up. So I'm going to close public input. And then we'll move to the agenda items. Okay. Item 1. For the council's edification, you may remember that we had, why have I gone blank? Jan, with the fellow from Heber, help me out here.
Yeah, so Wes Bingham took another job in,
Oh, yeah, Wes.
yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead.
he took a job in public education, accounting still, but we are revising our treasurer role. And Jake McCarg has done consulting work for the town. Many of you are familiar with Jake's work, and he started with Vineyard when it was a very small town, and he has been invaluable in guiding us through some issues with high growth, and we're happy that he will accept the position for a limited number of hours as our treasurer.
Okay, thank you, Jan. So, yeah, basically Wes has a different role in not able to continue in supporting us. So Jake has kindly agreed to take this on. We've set up, as Jan said, he's worked with us for quite a few years now, knows the town well, knows the finances well, and will be a super add for our team. So any questions you have about Jake, you can certainly address to Jan. If you've got questions.
Hey, actually, Mayor, I do have one question. So I'm glad he's familiar with the town. He would have to work with Katie. Katie, are you on? How do you guys connect with one another, and any opinions from your end?
Ralph, Katie and I and Carrie had a meeting a bit earlier today, which we will follow up with a meeting with Jake. We're reallocating duties and bringing as many in-house as we can. And we decided that it's best to keep the liability issues separately, to have our treasurer, a town employee, and Katie's doing some consulting work. We'll keep her as a consultant and have her get professional liability insurance. And I think that will utilize, our allocation of duties the best.
Okay, well, I buy that. And because I know that's not her regular job. I think my question was more, Jan, around how do they interoperate with one another?
Yeah.
Do they work together well? So I was looking for
Yes.
Katie to,
And
give her view of more about how they operate
Yes.
together and whether that's smooth. Otherwise,
Yeah. We all like Jake. He's been really helpful, and Jake has raised his hand. He's on the meeting. But yes, we have a great working relationship with Jake and plan to continue that. And Jake will just be there, we'll check in once a month perhaps, and we haven't defined his exact duties, but they will be limited and he will be remote. So Katie will still be very hands-on.
Mayor, I'm happy to answer the question from my perspective if you'd like me to.
Sure, Jake, thank you.
I believe it was Councilman Severini that asked it. I've worked in this capacity kind of remotely for a while. There are certain duties in the town that need to be separated from the finance director role and from the other roles in the town. And so I anticipate that my limited involvement will be mainly to accomplish that purpose. Having somebody in the role that understands the duties, but is also separate from some of those other processes that the state requires be separated. So I work really well with Katie. I think she's brilliant and she's done a great job at kind of propelling the town to where they're at today. And as the mayor and Jan mentioned, I've been working with the two of them for a few years at this point. And so, yeah, I'm happy to continue to help out in a limited role and excited about the growth in the town.
Great. Hey, thanks, Jake. Appreciate your direct input on that. Cool.
Okay. Any other questions for us on this proposal?
Hey, this is Chris. So I had a similar question to Ralph. I will be interested to understand how the segregation of duties does work out. One of the forms that Alicia sent me recently was a fraud risk questionnaire, and it asked about controls, and I realized I don't think I have a good handle on the kinds of controls, financial controls that we have in place. And so when those segregation of duties are worked out, can we hear back on what those are, and also get a little bit more information about, you know, the checks and balances and financial controls that are in place?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, guys, just as a reminder, you know, Wes has been working in that capacity. He is also not, you know, in the capacity of the treasurer role for a couple of years now. And so, you know, we're going to start with what Jacob is doing is what Wes was doing, which is basically reviewing the monthly and quarterlies and making sure that they seem to hang together, and then signing off on, you know, our reports to the state. Now, as they work together and, you know, work on some of the other things that Jake mentioned earlier, you know, the role will morph some, but it's not new for us to have a treasurer that's not Katie. So just as a reminder.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm fully in support of appointing Jake. And Jake, I'm not using your last name because I'm not so sure I know how to pronounce it.
That's a good move. Most people don't. It's McCarg.
McCarg.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll try to remember that. So yeah, no, I don't have any concerns about appointing Jake. I definitely support that.
Hey, one follow-up on my end, and I support it too. Same, I think that's not the issue here at all. No issue whatsoever. So Jake, what would be useful, I think, for us is, you know, it's not only the numbers, but your experiences with other towns like ours and how those numbers play out. So we're continually trying to project things as well. So, you know, insights into that, I'd say, would help us if you have those insights and thoughts, and you know, those are the harder things that we'd like to get a handle on. So again, having two pairs of eyes on the numbers and coming from different backgrounds, I think is terrific. So but you know, be great to get some input as well from you on when the time arises.
That's a great point, Ralph. I mean, yeah, Jake by all means, not just helping us with what we're doing, but also helping us to know what we're not doing is going to be helpful as well.
Yeah, and as smart as everyone is around here, I've been looking at the budget for a while, going back and before Katie, and we're still trying to figure out how to estimate properly, those kinds of things, and take advantage of the dollars and cents that we are collecting. So again, I'm just saying another pair of eyes is good, especially if, Jake, you bring in that, other town experience that is similar to ours. That will be helpful.
Exactly. Okay, any other questions here? Okay, then without further ado, I need a motion to adopt a resolution appointing the treasurer for the town of Hideout, Utah.
I'll
So
be happy to
moved.
make that motion.
Sorry, Ralph.
That's okay. You go first.
I'll second it then if Ralph is making the motion.
Okay. Sherry,
Yes, I approve.
thank you. Bob,
Yes.
thank you. And Carol,
Yes, I approve.
thank you. Chris
Yes.
and Ralph.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Welcome, Jake. We're glad you're on board. Okay.
Mayor,
Okay, yes.
I need to swear him in as an appointed.
Oh, I'm sorry. All
That's
right, well,
okay.
Jake, there's more. You can't get away yet. Is he here still?
I'm here.
Okay, all right.
Okay, if you will go ahead and raise your right hand for me, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jacob McCarg,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, and I'm going to step out, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Jake. Thanks, Alicia, for keeping us on the straight and narrow there. Appreciate it. I didn't realize there was a swearing in for that, but okay, agenda item 2. This is consideration and possible approval of a one-time 6-month extension to record the approved subdivision plat for Overlook Village, lots 38 and 39. Thomas, I'm going to let you take us through that.
Sure. This is a quick one. We've been through a few of these before. As you know, in our ordinance, we have a 6-month requirement for recordation of any subdivision, amendment to subdivision plats, et cetera, with the Wasatch County Recorder's Office. The Hideout Canyon Overlook subdivision, more commonly known as lots 38 and 39, that top line should read 38 and 39, was approved by council on September 8th of 2022. It's got 6 months, and so it's got until March 8th next month to record. We're just about finalized with the recordation. We're working with Dallin Quinn, who I think is on the Zoom tonight. If you have any specific questions, there's a few things that we have to clean up on that plat, some signature notes, a nearby subdivision amendment that was done fairly recently that impacts this one a little bit. It has to be updated on this particular subdivision. So we're just cleaning up a few things, and just to make sure that they don't miss the 6-month deadline where they had requested an extension, and we recommend that that the council award that extension so that we can get this done without having them have to come back through the process. And then in this particular one, there was a typo. We noticed that right there on findings of fact. You're right there, Mayor. Actually, findings of fact 1 and 2 in the resolution that was approved on September 8th said Soaring Hawk. It's actually Hideout Canyon. So just a clarification of that, but just a pretty straightforward extension.
Thomas, should that be Hideout Canyon or Overlook Village?
I think it's technically Hideout Canyon on the recorder's plat, so I'd say Hideout Canyon. Overlook Village is kind of the common name, but on the actual plat, it is Hideout Canyon Phase 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big oops there.
Yeah,
We
that's
definitely want to get that
big-
corrected. So in the ordinance, the findings of fact, what you're showing now, Mayor, is the ordinance that we'd be resolution, sorry, that we'd be approving. Does the resolution then correct that? Because currently the way it's shown here, it still says Soaring Hawk.
So our recommendation is that we correct this, keep this same date, or it could be initials, and we put, Hideout Canyon, Overlook Village in parentheses, just so that it's just sometime down the road, we'll look back at this and potentially get mixed up. And so we just wanted to correct it.
If we can do both, put Hideout Canyon and, parenthetically put Overlook Village, I think that would be the best solution.
Agreed. Yep.
And Thomas, the other question is
Thomas-
further, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
Go ahead, Chris. No, you keep going, finish your thing up, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to go ask you to scroll to the map. I know we changed the driveways. This plat map that's referenced here.
This one is, yep, if you can scroll to the right a little bit, Mayor, or yeah, I guess it's to the right, you'll see the map right there on the left. So this is the driveway, the two that you see on the bottom, 38 and 39. That's the correct driveway for them. Mayor, if you scroll just a little bit to the north or to the top of that page, you'll see that the driveway up there is still the old driveway for, what is that? I think, is that 36?
37 got a new
36
driveway.
I think that one got a new driveway too, so we want to get that corrected on this plat to make sure that it is exactly what was recorded for that one. That's why we're asking for a little bit of additional time. These two
Yes.
almost simultaneously. That's what's potentially slowing it down.
Okay, so that'll be corrected.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this plat that you see, some of the signature boxes, et cetera, some get removed, some get added. This gets cleaned up. That's why we need the additional time. And we just want to make sure that the applicant has the time to do that and get signatures through the town and then get it over to the recorder's office.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any questions on that?
So
Did we settle on the language changes for findings of fact 1 and 2 that we'd need to make in here?
I think I like what you said, Hideout Canyon, parentheses, Overlook Village. I think that's clear. It's, again, this is for down the road, 5 years down the road. I've been run over by a proverbial bus. Somebody won't remember. And so just to keep it clear.
So so the reality is this is this is the old, really the old one, isn't it?
That's
For all
right.
intents and purposes.
Yes.
So, but what we were approving is time to,
We're approving the one-time 6-month extension, but we should be correcting that resolution at the same time.
yeah,
That's
right. We should definitely be doing that. There it is. No. So yeah, we're looking for approval. A motion to approve A modification of resolution 2022 R12, approving the subdivision amendment for lots 38 and 39 Hideout Canyon, amended phase 1, pod 9 subdivision, with the addition of both the change on the plat to the driveway change to lots 36 and 37 to reflect separate driveways, and a change in language on findings of fact 1 and 2, changing it from Soaring Hawk to Hideout Canyon Overlook Village.
That's right.
I'm looking for a motion to support what I just said.
I'll move.
Is that Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second,
And a second?
that's me. Second,
Bob, thank you, Bob. Okay, Ralph,
Yes.
thank you. Carol,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
thank you. Bob,
yes.
thank you. And Sherry,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, we have addressed that one, and thank you all for your good questions on that. Go to item 3, which is the same kind of thing, but for claim phase 4. So Thomas, I'm going to let you help us through that as well.
Thanks, Mayor. So same issue for claim phase 4. This was the most recent, the last phase of claim that was approved. This one, just for your clarification, finishes up all 88 units that are part of the entire claim project. This was phase 4 that was approved by council on August 11th of 2022. That needs to then be recorded within 6 months according to the ordinance, which means that it would need to be finalized by within 2 days. We need a little bit more time on that one. We're cleaning up some of that documentation. Chris Ensign is on with Solstice Development, the developer for claim. He's on the call if you have any specific questions, but he's been very, very busy with tidying up phase 3, some of the infrastructure work. And so we just need a little bit more time to clean this one up. We also want to make sure that we finalize some of the trail and open space language on this one. And so we're
So questions for Thomas from council? Again, we're not changing any of the requirements. We're just changing the timeline.
yeah, so nothing changes, but there's just been a lot of work going on. And so we just need a little bit more time. So we're recommending a 6-month extension on this one as well.
Hey, Thomas, are we carrying forward, some of the design review kinds of options that we've had? I know we've gone back and forth on this a couple of times. What are we carrying forward in relationship to, changing designs and that type of thing?
So the recommendation from the design review committee, from you all and from council as well, was, if you remember, we looked at different color patterns, different paint patterns for the different portions of the project. That's what was recommended. There was an analysis for changing heights of some of the structures, and council had some concerns about changing those heights and offering variances for them, view shed obstruction, etc. So that was recommended by council to keep the same heights and go to the administrative law judge with the variance from the monotony clause, which did require additional articulation, heights, etc. The recommendation was to go in front of the administrative law judge, which serves as a board of adjustment, and to get a variance from those strict requirements. This project was well underway before that had initially gone into effect for phase 1 and 2, and the administrative law judge did grant that variance. And so there are no changes to height. There are no additional articulation changes. The changes will be in the kind of 3 color patterns that are scattered throughout that project, which I think is it's a good solution, actually.
And that's all brought forward in phase 4, is that correct?
Yeah, the benefit that we had by going in front of the administrative law judge when we did is even some of the construction, I think Chris can speak to this if I speak incorrectly, Chris jump in, but I think even parts of phase 2, certainly parts of phase 3, and certainly all of phase 4 is subject to the various color patterns because they're all in different phases of construction. So once they're complete, the different paint patterns can be applied throughout the project. So it kind of creates a bit of a eclectic pattern throughout the whole project rather than just one phase looking like it's got 3 different color tones rather than the entire project. So I think it was well timed. So you'll see it scattered throughout the project, I think with the exception of phase 1, which is the part that's been done for some time. That was already painted.
Thanks, Tom.
Thomas, this is a question for you. So under the conditions of approval, number 26, Mayor, if you could scroll to that. So that says the 43 acres of undeveloped land within the claimed subdivision shall remain undisturbed. No grubbing, grading, removal of existing vegetation, and this shall be noted on the final plat. That does not contradict any wording there about the trail network, does it?
No, it doesn't. So it doesn't allow for grubbing, grading of any kind of development, but we're also going to note on the plat that trail and or gazebo is allowed in that development area because that was actually noted by the council and included in the minutes. So we'll actually make that note. Those are the specific notes we want to make sure that get included on this phase 4 plat. That's exactly the kind of detail we're looking for.
All right, thanks, Thomas.
And how much more time do you think you'll need on this?
We're asking for 6 months. I don't think that we'll need 6 months. Chris is on the Zoom, and he can tell you, I'm sure he's more than excited to get ready and move on phase 4, I'm sure in spring. So we will do this well before then, but we're just asking for the 6-month extension because that's the way the ordinance is worded. They can ask for up to a 6-month extension. I think buying more time is better than not. And the applicant is more than willing to get this expedited. If anything, we'll be the ones paying very, very close to the very close attention to the wording, working with certainly Tim and TO, et cetera.
Yeah, so Chris, do you feel like things are moving ahead forward from your standpoint in terms of where the project is going to, this is the 4th phase, so this kind of finishes things off, right?
Yeah, so just picking right back up from where we were, certainly we covered all that to kind of complete the final phase. I think we just really, we mentioned the administrative law judge that took some time to go through that process and just get, so it was kind of, to be honest with you, the 6 months kind of snuck up on me a little bit. Certainly we don't need it and that whole much more time. We've been very busy up there. As you guys know, this weather has been challenging and we've just had a good run up there lately. So yeah, we could use a little extra time. We probably won't need the 6 months. I always think it's good to go for the 6. We have no motivation to go that full distance. And we've been working on, there's, I'll call it 35 items. We've worked on a lot of them already, but we just had a few more that needed to get completed as well. So yeah, we'll continue that and hopefully wrap that up soon. And Chris, if I could, sorry, Councilwoman, on 26, you there is a little bit of those. If you actually read down about 5 more, it does reference to also put it in. So I think it's for sure we know the intent and know it needs to be in there, but I've noticed a few items it's kind of like they were pulled from different times, but I do believe it's all considered in there and contemplated, I guess, because we are planning the trails. That's one of the items, is just making sure our trail system is right. So we definitely
thanks, Chris. Yeah, that's something we're counting on. We're looking for just a hugely valuable amenity up there with the trail network.
We're hoping this is our summer for that up there. So yeah, perfect.
Hey, Chris, this is Ralph. Before you leave off here, we're always trying to estimate how fast, things are moving in terms of sales, because that brings, certain revenues into the town. How are things going? Can you give us any impression, like if these were all done, would they move out, so to speak? Would they sell quickly, or are you seeing any slowdown in the market? Would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, you bet. So you and me both would like to know schedules better because I have been trying to keep some construction schedules that one very quick funny story is we shoveled snow all day for one pour from a concrete truck, and the concrete truck couldn't get up the hill that day, and we repeated that same thing the next day after another. I'll call it 3 feet of snow, but who knows? So schedules have been challenging. As far as sales go, we've sold our project's 88 units. We've sold, I think, 64, 65 of those units are under contract. So it's really in our camp just to get these built and delivered to our future residents. And then as far as the final phase, we just kind of haven't released phase 4. Obviously, we can't contract on them yet, and we just haven't really released them out to the public yet. Our hands are full right now. So I think sales will continue. I think in general, all I ever hear is Hideout's got a good thing going, and things get. I also just returned from the builder show down in Vegas and got a good outlook on the market, and builder confidence turned the first time in 12 months to positive. There's a lot of reason to believe that inventory and versus demand are kind of stabilizing a little bit, and that towards the end of this year, we might see by no means growth, but kind of a steady position instead of more of a fall lately. So I guess I feel somewhat optimistic on things.
Well, thanks for that input. Yeah, I mean, you and Sherry are probably on this group the closest to that, and I know I've read some articles, nationally, that things are leveling off and maybe reswinging in a better direction, obviously because of interest rates going down, but locally you never know until you talk to the experts like yourself and Sherry. So thank you, appreciate that, Chris.
You bet.
Okay, if I can bring us back to the subject at hand. So we're looking for a motion to approve a one-time 6-month extension to record the final subdivision plat for claim phase 4.
I'll be happy to make that, Mayor.
Thank you, Ralph.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sherry.
There's Sherry.
Yeah, I got it right this time. So Carol,
Yes, I approve.
thank you. Chris,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
thank you. Sherry
Yes.
and Ralph,
And yes,
thank you. Okay. Item 4.
Thank you.
is an update. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you being on and your input. Item 4 is a national update on National Incident Management System and the FEMA stuff. And Carol, why don't you help us here?
Okay, I went to the workshop yesterday that was held in Wasatch County, and it was very interesting. A number of people spoke. My takeaway from it is that they really discussed at great length about the incident commander, which would be you, Mayor, and then the council is your backup. And what our roles would be if there was a major incident. And what they used as a reference was the fire. I think it was in 2018, there was a terrible fire. It was up on the ridge, and then it went into Duchesne County. So they talked about the fact that they coordinated with Duchesne County. It didn't specifically impact any township But they talked about how they handled it. And so if something were to happen in Hideout, we could relinquish our control to Wasatch County, that it isn't up to us specifically to take care of it. For example, I'll use the idea of a fire, that if a wildfire came through Hideout, we could immediately call Wasatch County. There is an emergency management director. His name is Jeremy Hales, and he spoke yesterday. He's a former police officer or sheriff, one of the two. And that we could request the help from Wasatch County. They have a whole hierarchy in place to deal with emergencies like that. And we would then relinquish our control to them, and so they would become the incident manager because they have a whole structure and a system in place. So that's pretty much what was explained. So, it wouldn't be Hideout having to have a whole system in place. We could then use Wasatch County. So are there any questions about that? I hope I have it right. I'm pretty sure that I listened pretty carefully, that that's what we could do.
You did, Carol. You do. You have it right.
Okay.
So sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So I've worked with Mr. Hales and the emergency management team there. Tim has as well. They worked with us on our emergency operations plan that we approved. So we're in partnership with them. There is a board that Jeremy Hales reports to. I'm part of that. So we're well connected with Wasatch, and they recognize that barring anything that's big is going to come to them, and they understand that, and they're supportive of that. So, and if we have a water pipe break, that's probably a local incident, and at least unless we don't get it corrected and we start having soil destabilized. But you're right, Carol. The things like a fire, those are gonna go right away to county.
Right. And then they also, at the end of the conference, they did announce a couple of events that are coming up. On March 25th, Wasatch County is holding an emergency preparedness fair. And that is for anybody who lives in Wasatch County, just how to get prepared, like in your own home, that type of thing. And then on March 28th, they are having a speaker come in from the National Weather Service, and he's going to give a lecture about what they're looking at in terms of projections for severe weather and the weather for the next year or so. So they weren't sure exactly where some of those events would be held, but they were going to reach out and let us know. And so if anybody's interested, I will follow up on that and try to find out where it is. But it's March 25th and March 28th.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Other questions for Carol?
Well, when we find out, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ralph.
One of us will be in here. I'm not sure who's first, but yeah. Hey, just so does this extend what we've already put into place, complement it? How do you see this? And two, is it costing us anything, so to speak? I mean, or is it costing the county? How does this get paid for from that standpoint? Do you know, Carol?
I can answer that, Ralph.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mayor.
If you want, Carol, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mayor. I'd rather you are more aware of it than I am.
So it is covered by the taxes that we pay, Ralph. The town is not paying extra for being part of the process. This is a hierarchical process, so it is complementary, symbiotic. We start and have the power to call on them to escalate. They also have a symbiotic relationship with the state, and so they get to escalate as well. And then it can get up to FEMA if it's that level. So I mean, if heaven forbid we were to experience something like the California type fires, it would quickly end up escalating to the FEMA level, I'm sure. So that's how it works. So it's all part of the public safety infrastructure for starting with the county and the state, and then moving up to the federal level.
When there is an incident that's maybe borderline, I think Carol, you were saying, if a wildfire comes out, who makes that decision? Do you do that, Mayor?
Myself or whoever's behind me would say this is, after consulting quickly with our team, in the case of fire, we should automatically be escalating it because we don't have local fire service. So I mean, we have to use Hideout. we have to use Wasatch County, Wasatch Fire District that takes care of us. In the case of, like I said, a pipe break that's pouring water, we would initially get in touch with our engineering and public works guys. If they are unable to valve it quickly, or we have a valve that doesn't operate, then we start to look for other kinds of help. So again, then we would escalate looking for probably our friends at JSSD to come help us, like shutting down a water main, one of the master meters for the town, and trying to find other ways to knock off the water flow, for example. So that's kind of how it works. And the other thing is we don't have to keep it. In other words, they can't say, no, you solve it, because it's not big enough for us. If we escalate it, they have to respond. They can't just wash their hands of it and say, too bad.
So if we had an emergency, which again might be borderline, but it could get potentially out of control, you don't know. Would you automatically inform Wasatch and put them on point, saying, hey, this has occurred?
Yeah,
what does that procedure look like?
Yeah, there's a call list in the manual, but yeah, we would call them and say, hey, we have a flooding incident from a broken water main. Our team is responding, but we want to make you aware. If we have issues, we may need help.
I would like to mention, the earthquake that happened in Turkey. A lot of the news has been reporting that they really didn't have a system in place to reach out to the people who have been affected. And I just felt like as they went through what Wasatch County would do, they pretty much covered all angles. Too bad that Turkey didn't have the same kind of hierarchy, because all those people that are in the villages are really, really suffering.
Yeah, it was going through my mind as we were talking through this as well. I guess,
Right.
all the visual graphics that we've been seeing, so, yeah.
Right.
So one of the things that we need to continue to do is encourage the use of the app, the Hideout Town app. Alicia, I know we can get stats on that. Maybe you can, for the next session, get stats on, how many addressees that we have using the app. Don't have to name names, but I think we can pull all the stats from the tool. So let's put that on the list so we can see how well we're doing in getting people to adopt the app. Because that's what Carol was talking about, it occurred to me, and that's our number one push point and the thing that people would see the most quickly, assuming the cell service is functional in around the area. And then Alicia, as you and I talked, I'm still looking for the written procedure so that if the people who primarily do the posting aren't available, we have, backups that can do that.
Okay, I'll work on
And
that
Alicia,
this
can you-
next week. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So Mayor, this is Chris. I have a couple of questions. Feels like we have a little bit of tribal knowledge going on where you have in your head all the different scenarios and what you might do. Is there a way for us to get that communicated, written down, put into a playbook, something? So should you not be available, if there is an incident here, that the next people in line would be better prepared?
So it's my understanding, Chris, thanks for that question, that we have the EOP manual. It's my understanding that hard copies have been issued to all of you. If that hasn't happened, let me know, but they were supposed to have been. You'll see that the role of the commander is specifically aimed at getting information from the folks who are closest to the infrastructure issues that are typical of the kinds of incidents we might be worried about. So catching me, or you could be me in any instant, because the first person it says to reach out to is Tim or Dan, if it's infrastructure related. And you all are as well versed as, and then Jan as well, and Alicia, and the staff is well versed in which what are the capabilities of the town as far as those kinds of things go. So, if you have any question around, do we have anyone to deal with fire issue, you already know the answer to that. Do we have anyone to deal with a sewer issue? Yeah, but we're probably going to need help unless it's it's minor.
Right.
So that should be outlined in the EOP. I'm pretty sure it is, that there's sort of a decision tree type thing in there for that. If you want to review that and then come back and tell me if you think that's insufficient, we can certainly beef it up. But I think
Okay.
there's enough there to help you all deal with it in case you're the one that gets called.
So I'm laughing a little bit to myself because I do have the red envelope that Alicia gave me.
Right.
And this means I have to actually open it and read it now. Carol, I hear you laughing. So, so Mayor, I do have the written, emergency handbook, we'll call it. I don't know what it's actually called.
Emergency
No, that would be a
operations
good
plan,
idea. I
EOP.
think, you go ahead.
I'm just saying, it's emergency operations plan, EOP.
Thank you. Yeah, I do have that, but it seemed like you had already thought through all this, and I think it would be a good idea if we all had, thought through it as well, because we don't know who's going to be there when the incident happens. Could be anybody,
Right.
any number
Yeah.
of us could be out of town or otherwise not available or impacted by it such that we can't assist. So yeah, I think it would be a good idea to review. I know that where I work in IT, we do periodically do disaster recovery exercises. So we put together a scenario and then we, go through a recovery procedure to test that particular scenario. That might be a little too much for us, but
I like it, Chris. I think we could pick a date and select an incident and test the tree and,
Yep.
have one of you act as a resident saying there's water pouring out of this manhole. What do I do? And then, go through that whole process of the
Right,
simulation.
could do a tabletop
Yeah.
where we're just going through, the simulation,
Yeah.
we pull out the guide and we see how we can get through it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna ask Tim to put that on your plate, Tim, to do some thinking about how we can put together a tabletop exercise for the EOP.
Yep, we can definitely do that. We'll put something together, to a couple scenarios, and then we'll schedule a time, maybe summertime when it kind of slows down a little bit, and maybe run through a training scenario like that.
Yeah, that would make me feel better if we did that, because those kinds of exercises kind of stick with you. Anybody who's
Yep.
participating, and then you'll at least have that to rely on. Should you be in the middle of the incident and have a position of leadership for the incident?
Yep, I agree. I'll
And-
get to
and
work.
Just be aware that the reference guide that is at the end of the agenda, all the things that Alicia sent out, Jeremy Hale's phone number is there, his direct line. So,
So everybody store it in your mobile phone.
right, yeah,
right?
it probably wouldn't hurt to put it in our phones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And his name is Jeremy Hale.
Okay, and more importantly, right, number one number to have on your phone is dispatch. Right, emergency services dispatch. So those people know who to call, what to call. Those are the numbers you really want to have. Because Jeremy Hills also has a life, and may or may not be picking up his phone. But dispatch is always manned, always 24/7, 365.
That would be good.
Fire
Good for us
dispatch.
to do, Mayor.
Fire dispatch,
like-
police dispatch.
Yep.
And if it's truly an emergency, dial 911. It's okay.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Carol?
No, Carol, just thank you for attending. I wanted to attend, but I wasn't available this week. I'm so glad you were able to go.
Right, yeah. It was interesting. I'm glad I went to.
Thank you. Glad you did too. It's good that we keep showing our face, and that way they don't forget about us.
Everybody else there was definitely from Heber or Midway or Daniels or the south part of the Jordanelle area.
Okay, we're going to move to committee updates. Council's all okay to move that. And first up is Donna to talk about the Planning Commission.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from the
Hey,
Planning
Donna,
Commission.
how are you?
I'm okay. I was sick last week, but I'm better today, better this week.
Well,
So,
good.
yep. So our Planning Commission met in January, and it was basically a pretty brief discussion and meeting. We discussed and considered amending the town's amendment policy plan to include additional acreage in Wasatch County, southeast of Hideout. So that would be over there by Victory Ranch on the other side of the Jordanelle. And I just want to make it clear that, this was just considering, we were just, the discussion only related to the expanding the annexation declaration area and for Hideout. And if this is necessary, if we needed to or wanted to or voted to expand in the future in that area. So for example, Benlock Ranch. So the map would have to be expanded in order to do that. And it's about 4,000 acres. And I don't know if you are all familiar with that. if you have, heard anything about that or have.
Yeah, Donna, the council has, in fact, I think there's even either there was an opportunity for a visit or there is a visit scheduled. I can't.
Correct, right, correct. That was, and then I think we're going to be moving it to another date where we can, would be better for everyone and also maybe not as difficult to get there, I guess, and tour the area. So you're familiar with it and it doesn't obligate the town in annexing. So we did discuss it. We did invite other entities who were involved and no one else like Wasatch County or utility providers. No one actually came to the meeting, but we did receive a letter from GSSD. And I don't know if any of you have been able to review that.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so I will fill you in because this letter is quite interesting. They
So Donna, sorry
Yes,
to interrupt. I'd suggest that since you guys are having a meeting tomorrow and that letter came in between, why don't
we're not
you?
having a meeting tomorrow.
I'm sorry, in a week.
Next week.
I'm getting my days mixed up. But I think your meeting is next Thursday.
Yes.
Why don't, because you guys are going to make a recommendation to the council. So they're going to make their own, you guys are going to make a recommendation to them. So I think it's better for the planning commission to discuss the letter at the meeting, at your next meeting, and then, and then it'll go to the council.
Okay, I wasn't sure who received the letter. Exactly. I know we did, but I did not know if it went on to the mayor or to the town council.
It will when the whole packet goes forward, for sure.
Okay. That's it. So we discussed it. No public comments were made. And we have a public hearing next week concerning the expansion of the ADA.
Okay. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Next up, Thomas from the Design Review Committee.
No major updates. As I just alluded to in the earlier public hearing, the claim did receive an administrative law judge review and a variance. So we finalized that design review. The other two that we're working through right now, we've been working through for a few weeks. We're waiting on some updated materials for both Lakeview and Deer Springs 3. So they're in process. And again, that's kind of tied to their construction schedule and subdivision schedule. But nothing significant has been approved over the course of the past 4 weeks.
Thank you. Post committee, Chris.
Well, this will be quick. We did not meet in January. We are scheduled to meet next Tuesday, the 14th. So I'm expecting to have an update in the next council meeting.
Chris,
Thank
I
you.
have a oops.
No,
I
go ahead.
have a question. And it's just about access to the Jordanelle from Hideout. I noticed that the barricades are down. Can we access the perimeter trail now from our side, or do we still have to go over to the Rock Cliff area?
Carol, you know more than I do. I haven't been down there in a while. So the barricades are down and you can drive into the park now?
Well, just
Typically-
all I see is when I take the road, when I come on the Jordanelle Road, and then I do the turnoff into Hideout.
So let me answer that for you, Carol.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, there's a crew doing work down there, and so they come in and plow. There's a stripe down the road. They keep the gate, typically the gate closed because they don't want people, of the public using it. But they have to get in. So when they move that barricade and they get in, it does appear as if it's open, but the gate's always closed. They're generally pretty good about closing behind themselves. They don't want vehicle traffic down there. They have heavy equipment that's working, which, if you've ever stood next to any of these things, they don't want your car there either, because they can't see it from way up high. And they're going to end up crashing into somebody's car if they choose to go park in there. So, they have signs up, unfortunately. The edges of the park are very difficult for them to fully control. People are still walking in there. In general, they don't seem to get upset about it as long as you're staying on the north side of the park. Basically, from where you come in and headed up towards Jordanelle Parkway, on that side of the permanent roads and the trails, they don't seem to have much issue with. They will yell at you if they're working and you get down more than midpoint on the road.
So Rocks
don't-
Creek is still closed. In other words, it's
still closed.
It's
but,
still closed, still not open for public use.
Not supposed to be, but people do use it. But
Right.
you shouldn't be able to. Typically, you can't get your car in. They're not plowing the parking lot.
Yep.
So there's no place to park. There's a stripe down the middle of the road, but if you park there, you're blocking everybody.
Okay, thanks for that update. I've been avoiding it, knowing that it was closed. I just haven't even tried to go there, Carol. So I'm glad, Mayor, I'm glad you know from
I mean, there was
experience what's going on there.
Some character was in there on Saturday with a trailer trying to go into the parking lot and sunk himself nicely into 3 feet of snow. And when I went by, and I decided that you can't fix stupid, so I left him to solve it.
That's unfortunate. It's tough to get stuck.
Right.
Even if you're not supposed to be there, it's still just tough to be stuck.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have been. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he shouldn't have been in there.
So Carol, we'll take that as an action item to try to find out more from the park manager, how the construction's going, and we'll see what information we could get about
Okay,
that.
that'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks.
I was just curious, that's all.
Yeah, I think it's off limits,
It's
for
supposed
the
to be.
foreseeable future until they tell us otherwise.
And the snow hasn't helped them progress either.
No,
No.
of course
I
not.
mean,
I'm
it
sure
looks
they're
like-
behind.
Right, I can look right down on it, and it looks like the trucks and the equipment are pretty buried, but if, just for people's information, there are now 4 restrooms. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they did get the restrooms.
Yeah, they're not functional yet, but they have placed the buildings for the vaults. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to
And
see
they've
what they
roughed
do
in
to our.
they've roughed in the road as well.
Right,
for
the
day
circle
use.
road.
E- Everything had been staked for a while, so that'll be interesting. I'm curious what rerouting the trails might need. I know there's a bench there that probably has to be moved. I mean, there's definite impact to our existing recreation network through there, but I'm just waiting to see exactly what that is.
There's a couple places they come quite close to the trails that we cut in. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we may end up having to go through another NEPA study
study.
and maybe have to move some of the trails. Like I said, I'm just waiting to see. And then we'll just react to whatever they've done and see if we need to make some changes.
Okay. Anything else for Chris? Then we'll go on to Carol back again for the Transportation Committee. Any updates on that?
I can just say that during Sundance, the Richardson Flat parking lot was at capacity. And it wasn't totally plowed, so not all 750 or 740 spaces were available, but whatever they had plowed, It was very well filled. The buses were running, they were warm. I rode the buses every day, and it was a very effective way to get into town and quick. So I don't know what's going to happen after the ski season. And I know they're still collecting data as to how many people are using it, and then we will know. And then the only other thing that I wanted to ask was in our conversations with High Valley Transit, if they were to ever consider doing a pickup in Hideout, they need a parking space for the cars. And I just wondered, is there any possibility of getting a small parking lot in case people did want to take High Valley Transit, that they could come in? It has to be close to 248. They're not going to come all the way into Hideout, but if there were like maybe 10 parking spaces and they could cut in and pick up people that are parked there, because they do run a bus. I believe it's 3 buses in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. They do run a bus from Camas and Francis. So
Carol, there is a potential for us to support that, although it would probably transition over time, either at the Ross Creek entrance or at the piece of land that we have on the opposite side of the road. There's also a bus stop that they use at the affordable community. So I think we could certainly figure out a way to do that if the possibility existed.
So are you saying at the
again-
affordable community, some parking would go in that Hideout residents could use? As opposed, in addition to the
No,
people
I'm saying
there?
no, but if somebody wanted to get dropped off or whatever, we could do that. Parking would have to be on our land. Again, we have some, although it's not cleared for parking. It doesn't mean we couldn't find a way to do that. We just
Okay.
need to know if they would actually do it. If they really would do it, then we could work on a parking solution.
Okay.
Feels
have
like
a
we
team
could-
working on. Sorry, we have a team working on a plan for the entrance to the Ross Creek area as is. We will have some community parking in future phases around some of the amenities that are going in with Deer Springs, Deer Waters, for example. So there can be ways that we can potentially support that idea, but let's see if they're really going to come out, and then we'll work with them.
Carol, I have a question
comment?
I have a question for you. Do you know if High Valley Transit is going to be involved, once the Mayflower Resort opens up? Is that part of their area to provide transit?
The last that I did attend a couple of meetings, but it was over a year ago. And they were going to have, once the hotel got built, they were talking about running a shuttle from the north portal to the south portal and around. It looked like it was just a loop. So
Yeah.
that it wasn't going to go anywhere other than just, I don't know who it was going to service. Maybe some of the homes up on the ridge, but it was very unclear. But they did talk about a possible loop bus, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
High Valley.
Yeah.
High Valley is doing some pickups at Black Rock Hotel right now. The MIDA team and the folks that are involved with the whole Mayflower thing have been talking about having a community shuttle of some sort in support of that whole procedure, but it's they don't have anybody there yet, so that they haven't pulled it forward. But my expectation, remember, that's all Wasatch County, so it's not really on High Valley to do that unless they sign an agreement with Wasatch County to do that.
They are going into Wasatch County.
Right, exactly.
I know,
Aren't
but-
they running the Heber to
Yeah,
Park
they
City
run the Heber
route now?
Express.
Right, they have an agreement with, Heber, but I don't know that they have an agreement yet lined up with the Mayflower folks. That's all I'm saying. So that would have
Oh,
to get
okay.
done. Right. Anyway, so, but, there's been, throughout the entire project, there's been discussions about, ensuring that there's transit associated with that, as well as parking in the whole Mayflower project, so that those people don't have to take their cars in to use the facility. So that's part of their promise, is to enable their guests to get to the city without having everybody to get in their car and drive into Park City and try and park at China Bridge.
Yeah, I feel
Whether
like in
that
the,
actually
it's historically, we've not made a lot of progress trying to get any kind of transit parking solution into Park City for Hideout. However, since we do have some subdivisions in the MITA project area, it feels like we should be pursuing some kind of transit parking solution for the new Mayflower resort. I think we might, it feels like we might actually get traction on that. That's why I brought it up.
Well, we're going to learn some more fairly soon as well around our other annexation activities. We have a date set with the Supreme Court, so.
Yep.
We'll see, which is happening in a month or so. So that might, not a ruling, but at least a hearing, which will start to give us some direction.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome.
Oh, Carol, I wanted to say one more thing.
Yes.
If feedback for those guys is, they ran buses direct to Deer Valley and to Park City Mountain Resort during the World Cup events, and those were utilized. And at least from the feedback at Deer Valley, where I have much more information, because I don't know much about the Park City Mountain Resort side of it, but Deer Valley side of it is the people liked it. They love going direct. They don't want to change buses. If they want to have the Richardson Flat parking lot be utilized, they ought to think about running some direct buses.
To both resorts, Mayor.
Yes, to both, absolutely to both resorts. Yeah.
And
Right.
and if you follow the letters to the editor and the park record, I mean, a lot of people have commented on that make it direct and it will get used a lot more. So,
Well, exactly. It feels like a no-brainer. Obviously,
Right.
they had their reasons for choosing not to do that. But for those of us who live out, in Hideout and in that Jordanelle area, it's such a no-brainer for us. If you want us to use Richardson Flat, then run direct transit to the resorts in the winter during ski season.
Yeah.
Then people will use it.
But I have no idea why they decided not to do that. I mean, I'm not on that committee and that's Park City Transit.
I'm sure they had
buses.
the reasons, and we could speculate why. And they
Right.
made that decision, and so they shouldn't be surprised that usage, was great during Sundance, because they designed their system to work during Sundance, but they didn't design it to work for the rest of the ski season.
Right. But there were a number of skiers on the buses, during Sundance.
Right.
But they had to go to the Old Town Transit Center and then get on another bus.
Get on another bus, or to do that 15-minute walk from Iron Horse Drive. Evidently, you can do it, but it is highly unpleasant.
Right. And you can also pick up a bus at the high school. So there is a high, so you could
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Just wanted to throw our 2 cents in from what we learned at the experience of the Deer Valley folks that came up for the World Cup.
Maybe
Community
we should
engagement.
change buses in Atlanta.
I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't catch that.
Disregard.
Carol, I'm sorry, Sherry?
Yes, hi. We had a meeting this month regarding events for the summer, and our big issue now is trying to find a venue. So that's what we're working on. We have a couple of different options. Unfortunately, we won't really be able to check them out until spring or whenever the snow melts. So at the moment, we're trying to plan a couple things starting in July, since we don't know if the snow will be melted in time by June for some of the venues we're looking at. But we do have about 4 to 6 events in the works. So there'll be more on that later, probably next month after the next meeting. And then one of the members of my committee is, I'm working with her to try to work on the community engagement as far as reaching out to the community, starting a Facebook group, getting people more involved in some of the issues of the town to get ideas from our residents. So that's about it right now. We're working on that.
Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Sherry, quick question for you. Have your community engagement committee thought about trying to leverage the new Hideout app to reach people?
Well,
I know
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
yes, we talked about that. And unfortunately, we got some negative feedback on the app. I was going to get some more on that at the next meeting. People, I guess, just don't necessarily want another app on their phone. I think they need to understand more that it can be for emergency purposes. And maybe we need to get that out there, that it's important for people to have it. But people don't necessarily want to look at another app. Is the feedback I got, but that was just from 1 or 2 people. So I think we need to get some more feedback from some of the residents on how they feel about it and whether they're using it. So that was, we want to get some more,
Okay,
that's
well,
part of the
interesting.
engagement. Yeah.
I think we can do hang tags. We can do some things like that. They're not very expensive.
Mhm.
And just, but let us know how you want to do that. Apps in themselves don't really use up a lot of space on your phone. So that shouldn't be an issue. And if you
Yeah,
set it
I
to
know.
only
I think it's
notify-
just, we just need to promote it a little better to the town so that people start using it more. And then I think it's a great way to get important notifications. People can sign up for whatever level of notifications they want.
Exactly. You can
So,
just get the evacuation notice and nothing else.
right.
If that's what you want.
Yeah, I think we have to
Okay.
make the app the place people want to go
Mhm.
to get the latest information, and that requires just a lot of work.
Mhm.
Making sure everything we want to announce is out there. That we're not just using it sporadically for things. And then I agree, those hang tags were when Nextdoor got established in Hideout, it started with hang tags and word of mouth. But a lot of people just now go on that, and
Yeah.
they can see what's going on, not just in Hideout, but outside in the larger Jordanelle community, or actually just
Right.
across the whole
Problem with the hang
area.
tags is it misses all the people that use this as a second home and aren't here, or the lot owners. They don't, obviously can't hang a hang tag there, and people aren't always here. So there has to be other ways to get in touch with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have a Facebook page that sends people to the app.
Yeah.
I'm personally a little bit down on some of the social media companies,
Me too.
Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah.
I use them grudgingly because they're necessities, but we have to just make a decision for the town on what we're going to go after and just start using it, effectively.
I agree. Well, I have somebody on my committee that is hopefully going to work on it. She was, I was talking to her about it, and we'll work on that more at the next meeting.
Alicia.
Do we
That's
even have
thank you.
our group working on it? I mean, I don't know, Chris, are you active on our apps? Is the planning commission? I mean, if you don't get the core people
No.
active on it, you can't expect other people to get active on it. And maybe we need a small group of folks to kind of have a survey group to either give us some suggestions, because I think we're looking at it one way, maybe other people look at it another way. And so if the 12 of us aren't using it, my God, how do you expect anyone else to?
No, that's right. That's right, Ralph. We just need to make a decision, what we're going after, and then do it. But you're right. No, I'm not actively working on it. I helped Alicia do some testing, but I have it on my phone, and I'm more likely to get notified by a text message from the website. That comes to me right away. But I just think we have to have a communication strategy, how we're going to reach people, and come up with one that we think will work, and then just try to implement it.
A lot of people don't like social media, and so it's hard to find one way in which to get in touch with everyone.
Well, the good thing is, Sherry, we can choose one that's kind of like our core, and then all the other avenues, communication channels we have, use them to send people to the core.
Right.
And we can incorporate all that in our strategy.
It's a lot of work for someone, so it has to be somebody willing to do that.
All of you, Alicia wants to talk. She's got her hand raised.
Go ahead,
I'm trying to
Alicia.
get in, but
Sherry, I was just going to ask, before you actually create a Facebook page for the town or use it, the reason that we went to an app is because with Facebook or Twitter or any other social media, if you're using that at a official capacity, it can become a record, and it's really hard to manage. And so a lot of towns are doing it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it would need to be managed. And so before you do that, if we could kind of talk and kind of see, how we can, and maybe, if we're going to create a communications committee, I would love to be on it, just because I would need to be able to archive the records and, keep track of them. So.
Okay.
It sounds like we need that committee. It
sounds like we do. Yeah, I think
we need a new committee.
well, I've been looking. We've attempted on these 3 occasions to hire a communications person for the town, and who would take care of take input from the various, reach out to the various committee persons, get that information, put together some language, get that checked off by the committee leader or the town community, the town staff, depending on what it is, like Alicia's stuff, and then get it out there. So we could potentially, we're continuing to look at that avenue. We have one other thought that we're looking at. One of the other staff members has talked about maybe helping us do that. But we have to do some skills training for that. But yeah, that would be what I would like to see is, instead of trying to, reaching out to committee leaders, reaching out to key staff members, Tim in engineering and Alicia for calendar type stuff, as far as key meetings, planning commission leads, etc. Get that stuff out. And so that's still the goal, but it's it takes, it's not a full-time job by any means, but it takes some work, and within the mechanisms that we have today, or sorry, the availability of the people we have today, it just isn't happening. So it's going to take some extra time and effort from someone. We have to find that someone.
Are you
And then we can
looking for
get
an
a communications
external?
committee together and do all that.
Are you looking for an external person to come in and be like
I don't care if it's external or whatever. We just need a body that's gonna, that has both IT, for lack of better terminology, skills. At least enough to be able to, get messages and formatted together to go out, look at the web page and get it cleaned up, all that kind of stuff. Because, we're not doing it because we want to, but we don't have time. So we need somebody somewhere to help us with that. And, and have both the social skills to be able to get the appropriate input from the various groups, and the functional skills to get that information, on the right places, either on the website or on the app. So.
So can we form a
And,
new committee, and we can, maybe search for that missing.
we've tried
role?
schools, we tried the schools and the kids and so forth, but yeah, it's fine, Chris, happy to do that. And Sherry, maybe you sort of started down that path. Maybe you can see if you want to form a subcommittee around that. It's just another form of community engagement.
Well, I'm trying to get someone that I had in mind from our last meeting to want to take that on. So I have to talk to her about it, and if she does, then perhaps she can lead that. I don't have time to really do another committee, but we can make it a part of our committee. It's just it's going to take a lot of work to get it started. I think once it's going, it won't take as much work, but getting it started is going to take a lot of work.
Okay. Well, yeah, let us know if you can.
Yep, I will. After our next, we have a meeting
if you're interested.
in about a week, and I'll know more.
And reach out to me if you whatever the barriers are that you may hear. I'll see if I can help you with some of them.
So
Okay.
can I just argue that community engagement is only one reason to have a communication committee? I think Alicia brings up really important considerations about choosing our platforms wisely because of the state requirements for, public. I'm not going to get this right, but public communications, and we've also, elected officials have. So, I was just listening to a podcast about how elected officials actually can't block people from their social media feeds because they don't like what they say if they're considered an avenue, a way to reach their constituents. So I actually think this is more than just community engagement. This is these have some pretty important considerations, especially if we're going to be engaging of elected officials and the community and the people that they're representing. So it feels like it's its own animal where community engagement committee is a stakeholder.
Yes.
Agreed, Chris, which is again why we need guidelines. As far as I'm concerned, the two official mechanisms are the app and the town website. Not
Okay.
Facebook, not Twitter, not
Right.
Instagram, not Nextdoor.
Yep. But you can post in a social media platform that's a private company and refer people to your platforms. In our case,
Yeah, exactly.
yep, our
Yeah.
website and our app, which are our foundational things that we can control, and that's where we should be putting our all of our information that we're expecting to get out.
Officially
the official
sanctioned mechanisms
Yes.
for the town of Highland, Utah.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll work on that, and I will keep you posted.
Thanks.
Okay. I believe that takes us to the end of our agenda. Holly, I'm not aware of any specific need to go into executive unless you
No,
think
I
you
don't,
do.
I don't see any particular need. course, if anyone has questions about the pending litigation, they can give me a call directly. And yes, it doesn't have to do with close, but just a reminder that the oral argument in front of the Utah Supreme Court is March 6th at 10 a.m. I'll find out if they stream it as well. But my understanding is that it's live.
So Polly, that was going to be my question. That was the most important thing for me. If I want to hear the oral arguments, do I have to physically be present in a courtroom on March? Did you say March 8th?
6th.
6th, sorry, on March 6th? And if so, where is that courtroom?
Oh, it's the Matheson Courthouse down on State Street and between 4th and 5th South. And it's upstairs on the top floor. And I'll find out about the streaming.
Yeah, that would be great. And if there's like does the courtroom have, 24 gallery seats, or how does that work? This would be my very first state Supreme Court hearing.
It's there should be plenty, enough seats for everybody. But it's a state Supreme Court, so it's a big courtroom, and it's impressive. There's a diet, it's cool to see in person.
Okay.
So, but I'll find out if you do have the alternative to watch it, stream it. And since I just have a little platform here, I just want to mention that the Utah Leagues of Cities and Towns has a legislative policy committee that meets on Mondays while the session is in like it is right now, is running. And we can have up to 3 members. Jan believes she's on it, so we need to update that. But at least one needs to be an elected official. It actually says that it should be a majority elected officials. So you can also do that one by Zoom. But you could also, I'm just mentioning it because everyone who attends gets a vote. And not only does it update you on legislation as it's going in, it helps determine what the league's policy is towards certain legislation. So I highly recommend that we use all 3 seats so we get a bigger seat at the table.
And currently Jan's there, so are you looking for 2 council members to attend on the Mondays?
Yep, council or mayor would be great.
Is it 12 to 1? Like, what is the time? Do you happen to know, Polly?
As I just saw their email. It's 12 to 1, and you can do it remotely, or you can go down there. So just double checking.
I know I should know this. Do you have to sign up for it or show up?
We need to put our names on a roster so that we can say who from the town is representing the town. And I have seen other towns, even though it says that you need to have 2 elected, the majority elected officials, so 2 to 1. I looked through the list, and many towns and cities seem to put 2 administrative people there and just 1 elected official, but you definitely need to have at least 1 elected official.
I have time for that on Mondays for an hour, as long as I can do it on Zoom. I can't drive down there, but in the past, I've been more engaged with the league and also with the legislative session, but ever since COVID, I stopped going. So, right. But if you're looking for volunteers, I would love to join Jan in that on Mondays.
Right. Do we have a third council? Or would you like to?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You could also designate a staff person.
I could do it.
Okay, great.
How many more Mondays are there for the session?
I think we're halfway through. So it's 6 weeks, so it's 3 more weeks.
Okay, and President's Day, are they going to meet? You know, that's Monday.
Yeah, they don't seem to care holidays. I mean, if you recall, originally the session started on Martin Luther King Day. And then after many years, they switched that. But I think the session goes despite the holiday.
Okay, as long as I can do it.
That was going to be my question, Polly. I mean, does everybody have to attend every one all the time? Because, I mean,
No,
or just
but if
have the
you,
name on it sometimes.
if
So
you
if
don't
that's like if
attend,
Chris could do it on Monday and Carol couldn't, is that a problem?
no, if you don't attend, you can't vote. But I also
Right.
think that it's possible to swap out one council member for another. I mean, we can put down kind of our main representatives, but if for some reason Carol can't go, I've heard that they're pretty relaxed and somebody else can show up as a substitute. But but the main thing is that if you don't attend, you can't vote.
Okay. Well, thank you both for stepping up. That's great. Appreciate that very much.
Oh, thanks for the prodding to get more involved.
Right, and would somebody please send me all the information on how to do it on Zoom? I mean, I know
Yeah.
how to do Zoom, but you know, the links and everything.
Yeah, I'll send you I'm going to send everything to you two and Jan and Alicia can fill out the form for us. It's very straightforward. And then you'll RSVP for the Zoom, and I think they send you a link.
Okay.
And I think it's a good way also to see to interact with other towns and cities and council members and staff. So.
Okay. Thank you, Polly.
Sure.
We've gotten to the time of the meeting where we need to decide if we're ready to adjourn. And the way we normally do that is somebody makes a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Thanks.
Sorry. Beat you there. I beat you there, Sherry.
Okay. Sherry. Wanna
Yes,
go home?
yes,
Go
yes.
get off? Right, good. Okay. Carol.
Yes.
Okay. Ralph.
Yes.
Okay. Chris
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye all.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Nate.